Greetings, I'm Zachary Hepner. I'm pleased to share this Dvar Torah with you for Parashat Tzav. The term trias, politica, or separation of powers, was coined by Montesquieu, the 18th century French social and political philosopher, in his publication Spirit of the Laws. He suggested that when authority of the state is divided into legislative, executive, and judicial powers, liberty is most effectively promoted. In Exodus, it's mistakenly taught that Moses had 2 or 3 branches coming to him, until the Almighty brought Aaron into the story and divided the legislative and priestly branches into 2. However, in Exodus 4:14, Rashi quotes Masechet Zevahim 102, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says, "You," that is, Moses, "were going to be the cohen and Aharon the Levi. Now he'll be the cohen and you the Levi." At no point was Moses going to possess both lawmaker, which has elements of the judicial branch and priestly branch. Originally, the allocation of power was going to be switched. That gemara in zevahim is taught as a punishment. God was filled with anger, and he switched Moses and Aaron's branches. Because God was angry, it's taught as a punishment, but while the pshat is that God was angry, the conclusion is not necessarily so that Moses was punished. God was excessively engaging with Moses. Moses asks, "Why not someone else?" Moses asks, "They won't listen to me. I have a heavy tongue." If separation of branches was inevitable, then I suspect that Moses was showing his wit, his pursuit of proper arguments. Moses got what was best fitting to Moses. Moses was the lawmaker, or the lawgiver. Aaron was the priest. In the end of Parashat Tzav, Moses not only emceed the tabernacle inauguration, he himself was the high priest. For 7 days, Moses led all the tabernacle rituals, including the consecration of Aaron and Aaron's sons as priests. I quote Midrash Lekach Tov, Leviticus 8. Umipetach ohel moed lo tetzu. Do not leave the designated tent for 7 days, the Midrash says. Shivat hayamim haya Moshe v'lo shara shechina. Moses dutifully performed for 7 days, and the omnipresence did not present itself from his handiwork until Aharon took over on the 8th day, and then the omnipresence became manifest. The separation of Levi and cohen duties are so evident that even Moses, who had only months earlier been on Mount Sinai, who was allowed to see God through the cleft of the rock, that Moses, his function as a priest, was nonetheless insufficient. In fact, the word miluim, inauguration, says it all. It has double meaning, both of pedagogy and inauguration. Moses was the perfect man for the miluim, but not as the high priest. The proof is in the pudding. When Aharon functioned on the 8th day, God's presence became a public matter. Alexander Hamilton had a very different view of government than what we have today. He admired the British system of government, liked the king, the House of Lords, and the House of Commons, and he was not particularly keen on states' rights. His models of government were not possible to implement at the Philadelphia Convention. The states were too eager to retain their power in favor of a strong central government. He did, however, advocate and succeeded in the creation of 3 different and separate branches of government that we have today. Like the Torah, Hamilton got the executive, legislative, and judicial branches as separate entities. The Torah has Levi, cohen, and monarch, melech. Rambam at the end of Genesis, Lo Yasur Shevet Miyehuda, really goes to town on the gravity of keeping the monarch separate from the priests. But did Hamilton's version of the monarch echo today's executive branch? Or is there something more subtle afloat? Moses represented the Levi, which is a rabbi, a teacher, a legislator. But Moses also represented a fourth branch of power that contains absolute power, unchecked by the other branches. This branch can be lonely. It can be despised and unappreciated, and often resented. Moses was a Navi. He was a prophet. The prophet preaches unpopular messages. The prophet scolds the kings to their face. This fourth branch is and would not have been considered for any form of government at the Philadelphia Convention. Hamilton wanted a constitutional monarch, but the Torah has absolutes that a man-made system simply cannot generate. Montesquieu wanted to maximize liberty, but liberty is not the prime value of the Torah, since we are all servants of the Almighty. Why? I don't know, but God's will has something to do with it. With those differences, we welcome the ongoing experiment called the United States of America, but appreciate the divinely partitioned government of the Torah, cohen, Levi, melech, and all under the command of the Navi, who is getting his instructions directly from God. Wishing you all a Shabbat Shalom.